morning and to see so many of you out here this morning celebrating this Day of Peace, and to thank these children and this wonderful musician for the contribution they've made to this celebration, because it really does infuse us with the spirit of peace, and that's very important. As Christina just mentioned, one of the themes that the United Nations has really come to focus on is sustainability. And it's the theme of sustainability that I want to say a few words about this morning, because as Doug mentioned earlier in his comments, if you do look around the world today, things are improving. It is sometimes difficult to see when we watch the news in the evening, but things are really improving. The number of wars has declined. The number of people who are being harmed in those wars has also declined. The critical issue that we now face is sustainability. Sustaining these instances of peace as they develop. Because one of the other trends that we notice is that countries that have experienced violent conflict are frequently dragged back into violent conflict if the underlying circumstances that contributed to that violence are allowed to continue. We also see that many countries coming out of violence get dragged into other forms of violence. Criminal activity, for example, around drugs and trafficking in people and things of that sort. Sustainability means following through after we've emptied the box of the bad things, as our MLA Blakeman said earlier. It means building back in a sustainable society for people. It means addressing issues of insecurity that have dragged these countries into conflict in the past. Building sustainable peace is not simply taking away weapons from people who are going to fight each other. It means creating societies where people, individuals, can grow and can flourish and can aspire to meet their needs every day without having to worry about where the next meal is coming from, or where they're going to live, or if the water is going to be safe to drink. It's those kinds of circumstances, those kinds of insecurities that have dragged people into conflict in the past. And that's why when we think about building sustainable peace, we have to go beyond eliminating conflict. We have to think about the broader dimensions of development and alleviating poverty, alleviating inequalities, alleviating injustices that exist in societies. Victoria mentioned the Millennium Development Goals. It's interesting to note that most of those countries that have experienced violence in the past decade are the furthest away from achieving their Millennium Development Goals. Those are the societies that have been impeded from achieving those goals by their history of conflict. But now, having some of them moving out of conflict, Liberia, Sierra Leone, other countries around the world, it's important to help reconstruct those societies. And that requires sustainability. It requires the sustained involvement of all the groups that you're seeing around here today. And they make a tremendous contribution to providing that ongoing sustainability that we need in societies. But it also requires our own government to remain committed and active and an effective contributor to sustaining peace and development around the world. And that's something that you and I, as citizens of this country, can hold our governments accountable to do. Because as we know in our societies, as we look around, we benefit from the richness of the world around us. But those problems are also going to be dragged into our society if we allow them to fester in other parts of the world. And so we are connected, we are a part of this world, and we can celebrate the richness that we in Edmonton have received for being part of that world. But we must sustain our commitment and our support to developing those parts of the world that are in need of assistance, so that they too can enjoy the richness of the world, and they too can enjoy peace over a sustainable future. Thank you.